What's going on? Happy Monday, happy Monday. We are live, first time on YouTube, so come on in. We are live, first time on YouTube, so come on in. We are waiting for our guest speaker. We are waiting for our guest to arrive. But in the meantime, come on in. Come on in. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. What's going on? We are live now, waiting for our guest to arrive. In the meantime, in between time, just want to let you know that you can always catch us on social media, DTR 360 Books, 2_ on Instagram and Twitter, just DTR 360 Books on Facebook, and any other social media that you may be on at the moment. All right, so we have a very powerful episode here. Episode number 39. We are live and direct. This is our first time on YouTube Live. So family, make sure you show us the love.
All right.
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Wa alaikum salam. We were wondering where you were.
We made it. Alhamdulillah, we made it. How are you, beloved?
I'm fine, thank Allah.
Yes, indeed. So I already told my audience to come on in. Again, so this is the first time that we're doing YouTube Live so thank you. And thank you for your patience. Thank you for your accepting our invitation and interviewing you this evening. So we could just start. So tell us, for the audience who may not know of you, your name and your upbringing. What was that like?
All right. I am Sister Shahrazad Ali, and I am in Cincinnati now, and I have lived in Atlanta and Philadelphia. And in 1985, I started writing books, and my first book was How Not to Eat Pork or Life Without the Pig. And I was going out, taking a microscope and showing people what the pork worm looked like in your muscles and in the brain and different things. And I noticed when I was out that the men were more open to changing their diet or to stop eating pork or to try to do different. And it was the sisters, it was the women who were saying, he gonna eat what I cook. I've been fixing it. My mama ate it. My daddy ate it. And, they went through all of that. And so I recognized that if we are withholding the proper food from the Black man, and food is what sustains life, then what else are we holding back that would help nourish him into recovering from our ancestral slave history that would benefit all of us?
Right.
And so that's how I came up on the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman, because I recognize that you all don't really know us.
And vice versa.
Right. And don't understand our motivations. But it's more important in a sense for us, because where there's no decent women, there's no decent men. And so we are the mothers, and we do, touch the baby first. That's our baby. We have it first. We have first dibs on every child that is born to us. And so we have an opportunity to teach and to preach and train, or we have an opportunity to destroy and create hell for everybody around us.
Oh, yes.
And so, those are some of the things that I started working on. And then I wrote the Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman. That was in 1990. And so many people talk to me and they say that they are so surprised that I had peeped that, almost 40 years ago. And now things are even worse. The things, in fact, that I noticed then, that was lightweight compared to what is going on today. I never thought I would see the day when adult Black women, not just teenagers or young women, would be on the internet, on the Instagram, bent over, showing their naked behind, shaking it to the world. It's just horrible. And people from other countries, this thing goes all over the world, this technology. And when people from other countries see that, they think that that's all of us black women. That's the image that we have out there. And
Yes.
it's embarrassing, it's humiliating, and it's shameful that
Yes.
we have some of our women who are so desperate for attention and for the attention of a man that they would pull their pants down and shake their naked butt to the world, and
Mm,
it'll be out there forever. And
mm.
so that is bothering me these days, because that reflects on all of us.
Oh
And
yeah.
it makes people think that we are oversexed and desperate and just all kinds of things. And our men, we have just pretty much turned you all into just sex addicts. We don't offer you anything but sex, and
Mm,
that's the only thing that we perform and do in public or dance with. Everything has got something to do with some kind of hip gyrations or something that it has sexual innuendo in it, and that's a problem because our little children are looking at that.
yes.
And the most difficult thing to do today is to protect your child from premature sexual arousal because it's in the cartoons, it's on the television, it's in the games, it's in the schools, and
Now, what is that, beloved? Pre sexual pre arousal,
premature
premature.
sexual
Apology.
arousal. They don't get a chance to grow up. So much is thrown at them. They're 5 and 6 years old. Teachers find little children in the closet trying to have sex and things that they're not even qualified to do. But because there's so much around them and they see so much that they try to mimic that behavior,
Mm,
and they haven't seen successful male and female decent relationships in a lot of situations, and so therefore they're mimicking that, and that's what they growing up with. We used to talk about our little boys were growing up watching the drug dealers and the men and what they did and with the guns. Well, what do you think our little girls are growing up with watching us? All of the self-worship that we practice of spending hours on end getting our hair done 8, 10, 15 hours, but we don't have 2 hours to prepare a proper dinner. We buying food, feeding the children junk from outside the house, feeding our men. You all are overweight, high blood pressure, diabetes. We have the same. And all of it is based on diet.
Now, speaking of diet, for a minute, as you just stated, your first book, "How Not to Eat Pork."
Yes.
Why was that topics such a topic and a subject um of the interest of yours during that time, and then still even today's, as you just stated, we are still suffering from high diabetes, cancer, prostate cancer, lung
Yeah.
cancer, diabetes, high cholesterol, so on and so forth.
Mm.
Why is health such a detriment to our race still today in
Well,
2023 AD?
we were taught, and this is really just so sad. We have been programmed to think that eating pork is a part of our culture. We think that eating the pigs, the chitlins, the tails, the nose, and everything, when actually we just ate the food that the slave masters didn't want and was trashing, and so they gave it to us to eat.
I
We
see.
wanted protein too, and so we ate those kinds of things. But that's not our culture. That's not our history. We didn't even eat meat in a lot of the places where we lived at. Uh, it was not even something that we were attracted to. And
Mhm.
so when I found out how filthy this animal was. And, we went through a period in the 90s where we kind of had backed up off of eating pork.
Okay.
All right. And now it has come back with just a flash. It's just back. And the people that eat that particular animal, now no meat is good for us, we have learned. But the
Yes.
people that eat that particular animal tend to take on the tendencies and the behavior and the look of that animal. The
Mm.
pig is a very savage beast,
Yes.
and it's overweight, and it's eat anything. And that's how we have become. We are overweight, we act savage, and we eat anything. So
Wow.
we have started mimicking the behavior of the pig, and it has affected our natural beauty. It has affected certainly our behavior, and it's unfortunate. And so now that book has become popular again, which I'm very happy to announce.
Mm.
How Not to Eat Pork: A Life Without the Pig, right? Because It just talks about if you don't eat it, then you don't want to wash your hair in it and brush your teeth with it and rub it all over your body and wash, just do everything. So, we never really had anybody to teach us the connection between food and health. We
mm,
didn't have that. We just ate anything we could get our hands on. And we turned that into something positive of eating all of this bad food, black eyed peas and butter beans and things that some of the animals wouldn't even eat. We
right.
were eating it and thinking that it was part of our culture. We joke about the fact I'm gonna get me some ribs, and
Hmm.
I eat the pig from the rooter to the tutor, just all kind of ignorance we have made up. And it's very similar to jumping the broom.
Oh yeah.
Now, I equate that with the jumping the broom is because that was a bad thing. When the slave masters wouldn't allow us to get married under whatever the civilized statutes were, then we made up this idea that if we jump over the broom, that meant that we were married. But why would we want to keep mimicking things that these evil people did to us? Why do we want to celebrate those things, as I said, once again, as if it was our culture?
Mm,
We have not been taught. Our children are not being taught. We're the only people who send our children to the enemies to be educated, and they're not going to tell them the truth. They didn't tell us. We
right.
had to grow up and try to find out some things and learn ourselves. And so, we're suffering from all of those things. And the discipline that is required for us to change our condition is very far away from most of us now. A lot of the old people are tired. The
Mm,
young people are not interested. They have not been taught anything about self except to adorn self, to wear certain clothes and jewelry and hair and fingernails and a lot of things like that. But we haven't been really taught anything about civilization.
mm, mm. And speaking about civilization, it is an actual fact that we are the mothers and fathers of civilization.
Right.
And so I'm a teacher myself, if you didn't know. And so um, at any moment, at any given moment, I plant the seeds in these young minds. I teach first
Yeah.
graders out here in Newark, New Jersey. I plant the seeds in these young minds to let them know who they are, to let them know who their
Yeah.
ancestors were. Any chance that I get, and just by being inside the classroom as a positive, African Black male figure
Yes.
is essential and important because 9 times out of 10 they don't have a positive male figure at home, and a lot of things that we see that you just alluded to earlier in this conversation that we see happening with our young people and with our parents is because it's happening at home. It's because it's happening inside the class, inside the household. And so I know that's one of the issues that we must fix to rectify and cultivate a harmonious, living, educational, cultural household first. As the saying goes, charity begins at home and ends abroad. Um, so my question to you is, what other solutions can we bring to the family structure?
Well, we talk about, let me start with this. We talk about that if the man is not in the home, how much damage it does to the boys there, and particularly the males, and to the girls and the wife, the mother, whatever. But actually, we are in a civilization now where we went from the two-parent home to the one-parent home to the no-parent home. And
Wow.
so a lot of our children are rearing themselves.
Mm,
And what they have learned about masculinity or femininity, they're not even familiar with the terms, in fact. But what they have learned about being a boy or being a girl, they have learned either from their friends or from television or the internet and things like that, because we have not been able to model what that looks like at home. And so uh, we need to, and this is really something, it's amazing. We need to read to our children every night.
yes, I
If,
say
if
that all
you
the
read,
time.
if you start out reading to your child every night, the child gonna get comprehension and learning, and it will start reading by 4 or 5 years old. You can read it, take a magazine, you read anything. But
Mm.
if you start reading to them and teaching them to listen, it would change how they perform in school. I remember how when my children went to school, I didn't send them to the school when they finally started going. I didn't send them to school for them to teach and train them because I sent them, they already knew their alphabet, their numbers, their all of those things. But I wanted them to get somewhat of the socialization experience to know who they was going to ready to be living with out here in these streets. Because it's very difficult on a civilized child if you're trying to raise one and send them in there with the savage children
Mm.
who have not had the benefit of love and tenderness and teaching. It's very difficult. So we have to remember that even in our high school children, our children are going to school with the great grandchildren of the crackheads of the 80s. These
Ooh.
children are damaged.
Ooh.
And we don't realize how generationally that has been passed down. It's genetic by now. And we're dealing with those children. Prior to crack in the early 80s, we didn't have no ADHD. There
Right.
was no attention deficit. They weren't taking Ritalin. None of that was going on. But we have generations of children who have not been cured or trained or taught with some new information. And as I said, many of them have just raised themselves
Mm.
like animals in the field. And so it's very difficult. We need to have women who take some of that time from getting their hair and nails done that will sit down and read to the children. Will sit down and teach the children, teach the girls how to bake a cake,
Mm-hmm.
teach the girls how to thread a needle, teach the boys how to change a tire, how to screw in a light bulb. There are certain basic skills that we need to survive out here. And the book that I have for that is Things Your Parents Should Have Told You.
Okay.
And that's a book that in a couple of schools up there, even where you are, it was required reading. It was required reading for the students to read that before they could graduate, because our children don't know very much about how to be an adult. They've been trained on food stamps and Medicaid and getting so many things free that many of us as adults even feel entitled. And so we have to try to raise up out of that. We have nurses in our communities. We could open up small nursing stations so that if we have different minor things, we could take care of ourselves. We have money for everything except to do something for our Black nation, because we have been absorbed into the ideas of our open enemy and we think that we are part of that. But we are not part of that. We have just been trying to normalize our captivities and pretend that we are Americans and that we are part of the system. But we are not. And they don't even want, they still don't want us to be a part of it. Yeah. The people that are most successful among us are the singers and dancers and actors and sports players.
Mm.
The rest of us don't get a lot of attention for the contributions that we're trying to make to better our nation. And to the other thing that we could do, the suggestion would be to teach our children who the enemy is.
Right.
So many of our children get killed in the streets uselessly because they don't know who the enemy is. They think they're dealing with a normal human being that has mercy, and they're not. The white people in America still don't want us and don't love us and don't want to integrate with us. And so, what we need to do is to tell our children, these people want to kill you. If they get an opportunity, they will. These police in particular, they just got a uniform on. That does not mean that they are sane or normal. And they come out and they take their frustration out on us and they kill you. They kill our boys, they kill our men, and now they're killing our girls and women because we have become so savage in the streets. We have made it impossible for our men to protect us because we're so out of order.
Mm. Mm. So, how do we get back in order?
Well, it has to be done with knowledge. You can only change a people with information.
Mm.
And but it's so difficult now to get the attention span is so short from what we have been taught and trained to in America. We act like that the enemy is setting the time. They're not setting the time. We can set the time. We can decide how what time it is during the day, what time we gonna eat, what time we gonna sleep. We have the power. We can set those times. We can say, what are we gonna teach our children? What are we gonna let our little girls wear? What kind of language are we gonna let our little boys talk? Who are we gonna let them play with? What are we gonna feed them? What are we gonna teach them about food? We have all of that power, but it's very difficult now. I really think, brother, that that time has passed. I
Wow.
think
Oh,
that now,
yeah.
yeah, I think that now, no amount of pity is going to be given out when certain changes start happening.
Mm,
And things are happening very fast in America. There are things happening in the background, the backstory that we don't even know about. And if we knew about it, we wouldn't believe it because we have a culture of people who are disbelievers.
mm. Man, that was oof, that was deep right there. Um, the family, the family is important. I'm very family oriented, and the family, if you're talking about war, it's the first line of defense. It's the family. Um, Back in the 50s, 60s, and even in the 70s, we talked about nation building. We talked
Yeah,
about forming a nation, right? You
yeah.
rarely hear that word nowadays.
No.
How important is nation building in today's times?
Well, it is certainly important because there are some things that will probably start happening within the next couple of few years that everything is going to go to its own. Everybody is going to go to their own. And it's a lot of people out here who are in social integration situations who think that they have been accepted by other nationalities, but that's going to change. And things are going to be different. It's very difficult to reach people who have been taught that if they vote, it will change their life.
Ah,
See?
mm,
And so it's very difficult to reach a people who believe that some other people love them. And if they just act a certain way, that they will be accepted, or if they marry into that nationality, that will get them acceptance. And so it's very difficult now to teach people about nation. It's not even a word that's used anywhere.
that's
People talk
right.
about our country, quote our, and it's ours because we built it, but it's not ours because we own it.
Mm. Now, I think your most controversial book, if I'm not mistaken, is "The Black Man's Guide to Understanding the Black Woman."
Yeah,
Right?
that's
And
probably one.
yes, and so our own people bashed you, criticized you. I seen some interviews. I mean, I'm an '80s baby, so I
Oh,
didn't really know of you, during the '90s at that time, unfortunately. But again, my parents, um, bashed you, belittled you, criticized you of this book. Particularly so because you had like a scripture in there talking about physical abuse or something of that sort.
well,
And correct.
wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that was used. It was only in there for a short period of time when I recognized how insane everybody went about it.
Okay, so
Not
you took it
everybody,
out.
a lot of people, and a lot of course, people used what the Red Cross recommended and recommends for hysteria. They use that to discredit the entire rest of the book, but they were looking for something anyway. So that is not the only reason that everybody, a lot of people, women, were against that book. That was certainly not the only reason. The reason was that I was revealing some of the secret behaviors that we practice and some of our motivations that have us to act like we do and treat our man like we do, and the lies we tell to keep you all under our control. Those were the things that people got upset about.
Mm, and like the 7 attributes of a good woman. Speak on that.
Well, I think that's out there a lot of places, but I just mentioned things about forgiveness. We remember everything somebody else do. Certainly our men, but we forget about what we do.
Right.
I talked about patience,
Mm,
having a sense of humor, cooking the proper food, speaking in a civilized way to our man, setting a good example over our children, and not wasting all of our money trying to look good instead of be good.
Wow.
And I just talked about those types of things. A good black woman is always concerned about her nation. She is not under any kind of self hypnosis of America, trying to be somebody who she's not. She is not out taking all of her hard earned and her man's money to spend $100 on her fingernails. A woman who is busy and taking care of her family and doing the right thing don't have no time for no Cardi B fingernails. Cardi B have that because she's an entertainer. All of the women out there with the hair down to the floor, and just, we exaggerate everything. At first
Right.
we were wearing short little weaves and different hair, and now we got to have the hair all the way down to the floor. I was in the hospital the other day to see somebody, and I saw one of the sisters who was a nurse with a nurse uniform on. She had braids hair down to her ankles.
Wow.
Who in the hospital want all that hair floating around? And then restaurants and stuff,
Right.
it's
Right.
a problem. It hurts their head. They pat their head 2 or 3 days afterward because it's carrying out their hair. And we see sisters all the time with all the front of their hair tore out and stretched out from wearing all of those tight braids. We are not in the motherland. We don't have the temperature to be able to wear that hair twisted against our scalp year round.
Mm.
And so many of us are losing our hair. And I don't mean alopecia, I mean our hair is coming out. And that's the studies that people are making now about why we're losing so much of our hair. Between the chemicals and all of the weaves and the braiding, we are going bald and paying for it. And
Right.
paying
Right.
for it.
Right. Paying for our demise.
Yeah.
Now let's switch gears a bit. So one of your other books, which had been out of print for a while, How to Tell If Your Man Is Gay or Bisexual.
Yeah, that's
What?
out of print. Because see, if I put that back out there,
Oh,
then the gay community is going to
oh yeah.
usurp that and turn my career into that. And that's not what I stand for. I don't care what they do. I care about the bad example they're setting for us. Now, we're a trendy people, so we don't stay with anything too long. And so I think we just have to wait this out for our people, and things will go back pretty much to normal.
Mm,
Uh, so I decided not to put that one back out because
oh,
it'll take over all my time and I don't want to use it on that.
true, true,
Mhm.
true. Indeed, indeed. So you mentioned something earlier. You said toxic femininity. What is toxic femininity and toxic masculinity?
Okay, well, I didn't use that. I heard about it myself. People
Oh,
started saying toxic masculinity. But
okay.
I imagine that means for men who stand up to be a man. If a man is masculine and if he has a masculine idea, I say all the time that we get along with our man in bed. Once we stand up and he start acting like a man or giving instructions like a man, then we got a problem because we're not used to that, and we have been taught by the enemy that we are our own person, and we're really not our own person. We them. We copy that. uh you see, when a white woman puts braids in her hair, I'm speaking now of toxic femininity. If a
Okay.
white woman put braids in her hair or cornrows, we say that she is usurping our culture and that she is copying us. Well, what about all the black women? Almost half the black women in America got blonde hair. So what are they usurping? We copying their culture.
Mm,
Except we don't recognize that. We don't acknowledge that. We don't just naturally have blonde hair unless you live in Australia or something. We don't have that.
right. True.
So who are we copying when we have our hair blonde? We copying them. So they copy us and have cornrows and braids. This is that kind of culture now. This is that kind of civilization where everybody want to be somebody they not and copy somebody else. All this long flowing hair. Who do we know that's got long flowing hair? The
Mm,
white woman.
right.
She's been our only image of beauty.
Mm,
And now we got grand and great grand and great great grandchildren who think that that's how they're supposed to look. We even got men that's got long hair so they can toss their hair around. So the whole thing is out of control. These days, it's up to each individual to have the courage, because it takes courage to do anything different from what's going on out here. It takes strength for a person to be able to behave differently, act differently, and do something that the entire rest of the culture is not doing. It takes a whole lot for a person to be brave enough, a man or female, to do that.
True.
So, if we don't have that kind of strength anymore, we
Mm.
have kind of just given in. We talk about, people didn't like it when I said that we should submit to our men or have submission, which just means to agree. But look at all of our people. We have all submitted to everything they got out there, from
Right.
drugs to everything else. We have submitted to it all. We are in submission to the enemy's ideas,
Mm.
you know? And nobody looks at that in that same way. But yeah, we are in submission. We're in complete submission.
Man, speaking speaking about submission, we are even in submission to the government, right? I've seen in one of your videos, you said that the government, in speaking about the woman, the government is the woman's new man because the
Yeah.
government give everything to the woman now, right? And we
Well,
as men,
they give it to us to replace what they keep you from giving to us. And they have taught you against even doing anything for us or helping us. All right. So the main purpose of slavery and the Jim Crow, well, not the main, but one of the main purposes was to make us not have confidence in you.
mm,
It was to discredit the black man so much that you do not appear worthy of our love. And then he separated us from each other. And then he started doing for us everything that he kept you from doing to us. So he was really our man. He our man now in a lot of situations. He give us food, clothing, shelter. That's what our man's supposed to do, our husband. He
right.
gives us health care, daycare, education. That's what our man is supposed to do. So everything that our man was supposed to do, they have replaced on a pseudo level to make us think and to make us think that we're doing that on our own. Make us think we better than you. Because after all, we got a house, we got an apartment, we got a car, we got a this, we got a that. But we didn't get it ourselves in a lot of cases. They gave it to us.
Mm,
Everything they do is designed to make you look bad, to the point that our men being raised by so many women who were also kind of, whacked up in the head and didn't understand certain factors about child rearing. Uh, Now our men act like our women. They not gay.
okay.
They just have a female attitude and behavior.
Wow.
Okay? They're not gay. I'm not talking about gay men. I'm talking about men who have been completely reared around women. Auntie, mama,
Okay.
grandma, cousin, sister, almost all females. And so they stand like a female, many
Mm,
of them. They hold their food at the table. They eat like a woman. They put on cologne like a woman. They do a lot of things. I've watched this in many men over the years.
mm,
See, one thing about being an old head, I know what happened. Nobody had to tell me I was there.
right.
Okay,
Right.
so I know what we've been doing. I know how we've been acting. I know what some of our motivations were. And I know whether or not we have improved on those issues or if we are declining.
Mm.
So
Man.
there's a lot of change is constant. Every 29 seconds, the earth shakes. We can't tell it, but that don't mean it's not happening.
True.
And so it's a lot of things happening that we so blind now. When you're blind, you can't see,
True.
remember? And so we don't realize certain things are happening, but they are happening. And it's changing all the time. The earth is spinning. Every time the earth go around, a different combination is formed. Something shifts, something moves. It's not the same. We have that same opportunity. Every time we turn around, we can change. We can do it different. We have that power. But it takes so much courage to be able to be different, to be right. We don't even want to accept right or wrong no more. Everything is okay.
Hmm. Man, as you said, to have courage and also to have knowledge of self, right? To read and inform yourself of the proper knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that it takes for you to grow and elevate. As they say that elevation causes expansion. So the more you elevate, the more you expand into different knowledge and into different school of thoughts, which is powerful and which is necessary in order to develop and elevate one, and two, help to develop and elevate your family, and then help to
Yeah.
develop and elevate your community and then nation, so on and so forth. But as you said, we are distracted by so many different things, outlets, and technology that it will almost take a miracle for us to see some sort of change.
Well, we gonna have some of those miracles. It's called divine intervention, and
Okay.
so that is going to happen. Uh, we will recognize it. I guarantee you when it starts happening, and we're going to have force unity. Okay,
Mm.
we're going to be forced to be together, to work with each other, to share our food. See, when times get hard, women don't realize that one of the main reasons you need a man is to secure food and help protect your food and protect your children. You know, we are really, and I recognize I'm just a woman, so I can't get into everything and I can't step out into everything. I try to just stay in my lane. I'm just a woman. I'm a qualified woman, but I'm not a man. I don't want to be a man. I like my position. I stay in my lane. Okay. And I can work it from here. We have a great deal of power. We just we birth everybody. As you said, civilization started with us.
Yes, ma'am.
We didn't start and come up with civilization. We created it. That's what we did. And the other people who came along way after us have been able to take over temporarily, and they have made they've been terrible step parents over us. They've been awful, and they have taught us the most terrible things and behaviors, and how not to get along with each other. And everything has pretty much been designed to keep us separated. And every time we break up, whatever happened, every time we break up, they have won again, because the whole goal is to keep us apart. You
Right.
know, they used to say that mafia meant mothers and fathers in association.
Mothers and fathers in association.
That was what mafia stood for.
Wow.
Okay. Their women were very important in their groups. In a lot of countries, they're very important. And if you want to destroy any nation, you don't go in and just kill the men. You go in and corrupt the women. Because if you're able to change them from their standards and culture, then you can rule the rest of that country for generations to come.
Because the woman is the first teacher of the
That's right.
child.
Right.
That message that she gives to the child, that child gives to the world. So we have to be very careful in how we're mating, right? There's a science to mating.
Yeah.
And some of us, as you know, men, and I can even take account to this personally, that we have impregnated the wrong woman.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Talk about the science of mating, Queen Mother.
Well, one of the things, and that I have taught my grandsons, is to be in charge of their own fertility. Don't wait on somebody else to say they use birth control. If that's not what you're trying to do, then you use birth control. You take charge of your own fertility. So, our men are always surprised when a woman says she's pregnant. But if they take care of that, then they don't have to worry about that all the time. Uh, I think that we were not taught anything, as you said, about mating. All blood doesn't match.
Right.
And the problem that I see coming for our young people is that the brothers have these different baby mamas, as they call them. They may have 4 or 5 children in the same city. They may have 8 or 9, however, because it's usually like that. They ain't traveling outside of where they live. It's
True.
in that environment. And I'm concerned about future generations of incest, because nobody knows who is who came from who their people are.
Mm.
Nobody's if you got 5 children, there's nobody keeping up with 5 grandmothers and 5 grandfathers and 5 sets of aunts and uncles and all of that. Nobody know who's who anymore. And those children are going to grow up in that same vicinity somewhere around, and they'll start mating, not knowing that may be their brother or sister or cousin or uncle or somebody like that. So I'm concerned about that part of it getting out here. The other thing is it's really a juxtaposition because the other thing is our birth numbers are down.
Really?
Yes.
I know the Europeans' birth numbers are down.
Well, here in America, ours are down now. All of the abortion centers have been so made so available to us and so close to us and everything that we could have access to them free if we didn't have the money. And so a lot of communities they are closing the elementary schools, especially for the kindergarten and first grade, because there are no children to enter there. They don't have any little tiny little children anymore, 3 and 4 years old and 5 years old to start in there. And the Latinos and the people that are coming here and already here, the Mexicans and all of them, they're all out birthing us.
Wow.
See, birth to us has become somewhat of an inconvenience.
Mm.
And people don't want a lot of children anymore. They don't want to be bothered with them. The baby is cute to dress up and have fun with till they get about 4 and turn into a person and can say yes, no, I'm not, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, then we kind of lose interest in the child. And then you have all the children that's in the orphanages. That's over 500,000, they say, that are in there that nobody has taken in and tried to rear them up. And a lot of this stuff has made our children angry. And so a lot of the hostility that we see them acting out in the street is because they're mad. They know they've been deprived. They know they've been tricked. They just don't know how. And so they taking it out on each other and society. It's
Mm.
a problem and it's going to be a bigger problem because they have received skillless educations. They don't know how to do anything. Most of them don't want to do anything.
Right.
They don't have that inspiration to work for money anymore. And they don't know how to eat to live. They just know how
Uh-huh.
to eat to die. And they
Mm.
know how to act other than themselves and to be savage and brutal to each other and anybody else. So that's a problem because those are our children. And at some point, the enemy is going to attack them for their savagery because they're going around America tearing up all of their material things. Okay, that's going to be a problem. And when that attack comes, it's going to pull us adults out into the streets because those are our children.
Mm. How to eat to live. I wanted to ask you this when we was on the health subject, but um, forgive me for bringing up this subject again. You've lived a long life, as Dr. Martin Luther King said, may Allah be pleased with him, that longevity has its place in life, right? So what has your eating habits been like?
Oh, of course, I haven't had any pork. I eat some meat. It's bad.
Every
It's,
now and then?
yeah, I eat lamb.
Okay,
Sometimes I eat beef. Yeah, I eat some meat.
okay.
But I don't eat no pork, and I don't eat nothing with pork in it, and I don't use nothing with pork in it, far as I know, for
Mm-mm.
over 50 years.
Mm.
And as you see, it has allowed me to keep my beautiful appearance
Right, exactly.
because I haven't been eating no hug, and I've been thinking the right thoughts much as I can. But I've been living in hell like all the rest of us, and it has been difficult. But it has allowed me to fix proper food and share it with my children, and they share it with their children, and then they share it with their children. I have a great grandson now.
Wow.
All right. And he is being taught the same thing that my other children and grandchildren were taught. And so, I've been very blessed to be able to continue to carry this on. That's how you make a new people. We have
Right,
to keep practicing it. It is called routine duties. We have to keep doing that. And there are systems that will allow you to turn your child into a genius. I don't mean just one that can go to school and pass a test that the white people got. I mean one who knows how to think and create and who is free in their mind that they can figure out how to do things and come up with new ideas because we are the best, the wisest, and the most beautiful.
Indeed, indeed. As you once said, we have to raise a new man, because working for the present isn't isn't doing anything for us. So we need to work for the future, and raising a new man, which was powerful, because as you just said, like, we need to teach and educate the young youth, the youth basically, so that they can grow up with the knowledge that we have, right? Because me personally, I got the knowledge late. So, in every little thing that I learned, I try to decimate and distribute out into the world, into my family as well. But sometimes they hard headed, they don't want to listen. But I try to distribute, and this is why I have my online bookstore selling books, to distribute and share the knowledge. So
Yeah.
that, if I can at least get one person, and that one person could get, their one family member or their one son or daughter, then, as you said, that's how we are rearing and raising a new nation.
That's the only way. There is no other way. It's one at a time. And I think of sometime, brother, look at how blessed we are, because everybody can't hear the truth. Everybody can't hear the knowledge that will raise them up and dignify them because of the knowledge that they have. See, that's what this does. It dignifies you and it elevates you. It is the supreme wisdom of having this information. And
Teach.
so, if we can do that, it's not necessary to go. I tell people all the time, you don't have to find no group. You don't have to go join nothing. You don't have to pay no dues nowhere else. You just work on the people around you, the people who you live with. Most of us don't even get along inside our home. We need to
Right.
try to make peace in there with them people.
Right.
Start trying to rebuild what we're doing and starting trying to implement some new rules. And we can't try to teach our children about self, God, and the devil at home and then send them to the enemy to pretend that they're learning what they require.
Mm.
Okay? We have to be able to, even if we have Saturday classes, if one evening a week, if each different sisters in a community bring 4 or 5 children in there and teach them just once a week, each sister, we could rotate on that. We could bring the girls in on Saturday and teach them how to bake, teach them how to iron and sew and do something other than put a weave and glue on top of their head. It's very difficult to teach a woman salvation who hates her own hair on top of her own head and who believes that in order to be beautiful, she has to glue somebody else's hair on her head.
Mm.
All right, that's using the wrong standard of beauty. We're the most beautiful women on the earth. Everybody copy us.
Come on now.
Everybody want to look like us, be like us, built like us, everything. But because we have been tricked out of the knowledge of our own value and self, we want to try to be like everybody else. We think if we mimic them, that will make us acceptable. We think if we shake our behind enough in public, it will make men really want us. And our men are they don't have the discipline. Many of y'all don't have the discipline to live in some of our communities because this new thing of when the women are in the streets fighting like cats and dogs, then instead of the men breaking them up, they stand around videotaping it with their camera. They making a film of it. That is horrible for
Mm.
our men to participate in our women behaving like that with all the little children watching them. That's the lesson that they're getting. But because, as I said, very few people are teaching standards because most of the people want an androgynous civilization where there are no men and no women, it's just people, and where there is no right and there is no wrong. It's just do whatever you want to do, long as you think it's okay. And that's certainly a terrible way to live, and it can't do anything but create a savage civilization where the people destroy the children and themselves, eat themselves to death, eating the wrong food, and give up self trying to be like other people because we hate self so much.
Mm.
But we were taught to hate ourselves and love everybody else. Now look at how that played in. We were taught to hate self, but love and forgive everybody else, no matter how bad they treated us.
Mm.
We've been victimized by the big trick, but It's just a trick to us. And if we learn about the truth, we should be willing to change our behavior and live a different life. We are not forced into what we're doing. This is by choice because we think we don't have another choice. We do have choices. That's all we brag about. We got freedom of speech. Negroes talk a whole lot, but we have to actually do some things. Something physical has to happen for a change to be made.
Oh yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We have too many talkers on YouTube. We have too many talkers on social media. Every time you look up, there's a video about someone talking about this and that. But there's no one that's building anything. Huh? There's no one that's building any institution. There's no one that's building any hospitals that we need, any financial banks that we need, any independent schools that we need. No one is building anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have some pockets of people here and there, but us as a collective, we don't have that. Um, but you know what? Who did build and build much was the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. May Allah be pleased with him. How important was that man to your consciousness and to your upbringing? And
Oh,
part two, was you ever a part of the Nation of Islam by any part of your life?
well, uh, I have been and I continue to be a follower of the teachings of our Elijah Muhammad. Not Farrakhan, not Wallace, not nobody else. Because everybody has changed his teachings and made up what their idea was. But he has been my teacher. The people that all of y'all love the most. Louis Farrakhan, Muhammad Ali, Khalid Muhammad, Shahrazad Ali, all of us, all of y'all love Malcolm X. Y'all love us the most only because we have something to talk about. If y'all had the same teacher, we all had the same teacher.
Okay.
That's why we have something to say that pulls on your nature and makes you listen to it and agree with it. Because he taught us the supreme wisdom. That hasn't changed. And so he was very pivotal. He was the center. He taught me how to live, how to eat, how to stand, how to cook, how to everything. He said we have to be taught everything. So he was my teacher. I have never just been a temple Muslim. You know, there's two kind of Muslims. There's Muslims in the temple out of Newark. You certainly have heard that. And you got street Muslims. You know, so yeah, I never. I just the temple is a clearinghouse, brother. You go in there and you learn your lessons, you learn the standards, and then you leave. The messenger say, take your Islam and make it work for you. Okay, he didn't say come in here and stay for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's not the test, you know. And so he certainly was the best teacher I ever had and is responsible for my success and continues to be and responsible for uh, every good thing that I have in my life. The only time I've had some bad things is when I went against what the truth was.
Right, right. And you had to get right back on the righteous path.
Yes.
Indeed, indeed. So as you have just gave commemoration and success to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Some people
Yes.
who got their information from you also gave you your props, so to speak, and gave you your admiration. And I'm speaking about the late great Kevin Samuels. I've
Yeah.
watched many of his videos, and he always used to say, I learned, this relationship teaching from Sister Shahrazad Ali. And,
Yeah.
most times he always shouted you out and he gave you your props, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word. Have you known him personally?
Oh
And
yes.
going back to just the hatred and the vision of our people. When that brother transitioned, there was more Black African women who was happy that he transitioned and he passed away. Talk
Well,
about that, Queen Mother.
he certainly was just fine brother, doing the best he can. He didn't have full knowledge. He only had half knowledge, but he brought out what he had and what he was able to learn from my work. Uh, he and I were planning a very big event in Atlanta.
Oh, really?
Yes, I mean huge. And we were working on that, and I had agreed that I would do that with him. You know, he would call me all the time. He wanted me to come on and do different things, and I said, not time, and I didn't need it, you know. And so then he went and died. You know, he didn't get sick. This Negro died completely.
Unexpectedly, right?
Yeah, young man like that, you know. But sometime when you have half truth, you get caught out like that and you die.
Mm.
So but he did the best he could.
Mm.
And he was a little uncivilized, but he would speak as plain as he knew how, in trying to let the sisters know some of the corrections that we need to make if we want to stop tripping and have a real relationship with a man. Okay.
Right.
And so he did the best he could. And I miss my brother. And I think as we spent more and more time together, I would have been able to teach him
Mm.
and bring him into another level of what he thought he understood.
Mm. That would have been dope. I would have loved
Yeah,
to see that. I would have loved to
yeah.
see that. Um, moving on. Tell the people where we can get in contact with you from,
Yes,
and anything that you're working on in the future.
right. I thought we was gonna put my cash app up on your show on your thing. You gonna
Yes,
put it up
sister.
there?
Yes, we can also. I'm gonna put it when I upload it. I'm gonna put it in the description.
Okay.
You can
Yeah.
also announce it now for the live viewers.
It is the $ SAUDAMAE. Saudamae.
Right.
Of course, people think that's my slave name, Saudamae,
Oh,
but it's
really?
$SAUDAMAE. That's the $Saudamae. And my email is Sister Shahrazad Ali at yahoo.com. And if you go online, if the brother runs out and you go online to get my books, make sure it says you're buying directly from the author. Because, Quessy, I'm having a problem with other black people stealing my books.
Really?
Yes. And
Mm.
they are copying them on the Xerox machine and selling the pages like that.
No.
Uh, they are just selling my books for $100, $150, 75,
Mm-mm.
all kind of stuff. And so my books are 20 and
Right.
$30. If somebody's charging you more than 20 or 30, it's not me. And don't let them rob you like that. So I'm working on my own site again. As
Okay.
soon as I get that on, I'm gonna come back on your show. I'm gonna be making a round trip thing, letting people
Yes.
know what it's gonna be so that they can come directly to me.
Yes.
But you can go on Amazon and eBay and find them. As I
Yes.
said, just make sure it says you're buying directly from the author.
Indeed, indeed. And just for clarity again, we are not like Xerox copying. Like these are official books that
Yes,
we
I
get
see.
from our distributor. No, no. I need to say this because I don't want people thinking that or bootlegging and taking money from your pockets, right?
No.
But we also need more black bookstores. In
You know, we
the
used to
East
have a lot.
Coast, right?
Listen,
So what
when I
happened
came
to
out
that?
with the Black Man's Guide, it opened up, I know, at least 100 or 200 black bookstores. Black bookstores were opening just on the strength of selling the Black Man's Guide. They had one book and they would sell that.
Wow.
And then over the years, our people started trying to mimic the enemy, start giving each other credit, and they start letting them the enemy attract them to buying online their bookstores because they would take $1 off or $2 off and make it cheaper, and we lost the market. And so now we're trying to rebuild it back. So you're doing a good thing because we do need more bookstores, but we used to have one on every other corner, but
Mm.
we destroyed that ourselves like we tend to do. And so now we're trying to bring that back. I don't have any books on audio. So if anybody try to sell you my book on tape, don't buy it because I don't have any books on audio. I'm not on Kindle. I'm not doing any of that. I'm doing a book.
Yes, a
We need to
physical
read.
book.
Yeah, a paper one. You know, we need to read. And that's
Exactly.
what I'm doing. But I have certainly enjoyed coming on here talking to you.
Yes,
I
yes,
love to talk
indeed.
to young people. And I know that you're going to talk to some other ones. And I know that you have heard some things here today that will help you
Of
in what you're
course.
trying to teach.
Of
And they
course.
will help others who listen to it. It will do that too. And I appreciate your invitation. And as I said, I'm going to get back to you this fall. We're going to do another like a 15-minute update
Yes,
thing.
yes,
And
ma'am.
I'll come back to talk to you. But thank
Yes,
you very much for inviting me.
yes, ma'am. Before we leave, I just want to shout out Brother King Simon. I think
Yes.
he's still on here, or he was. He messaged me as well. Brother Automatics has just transitioned.
Oh,
So yes, yes, attorney at war is what we used to call him. So I want to send my prayers and condolences to
yeah,
Automatic's family, and I hope Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is pleased with his sacrifice, his courage, and his hard work that he
yes,
did for us through the
yes,
'90s on to the 2000s.
yes.
And sister, thank you as well.
Yes,
I want
sir.
to give you your roses as you can still smell them. Thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for your supreme knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, and your
Alhamdulillah.
longevity, as I stated before. Your courage and your sacrifice as well, because you could have been doing anything else at
Yes,
this time, but you chose to come on here to speak to a brother that you don't even know, to educate us on the
yes,
importance of relationships, and to educate us on the importance of nation building and the family
mhm.
structure. So thank you, and I look forward to our part two soon, inshallah, and continue doing Allah's work.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.